go live. Hello, welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast live on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. I'm joined by our chief sports writer, Lee Ryder, who was down at the King Power to see Newcastle beat Leicester City 4-2. Yes, in case you missed the game, you didn't mishear me. Newcastle beat Leicester City 4-2. Champions League chasing Leicester City, Lee. They were 4-0 up, and it was a game that none of us expected, a result that none of us expected, a performance that few people would have seen coming as well. How would you sum up what you saw tonight?
Yeah, crazy game, no doubt about it. We've seen the best and the worst in Newcastle, I suppose, in one half of football in the second half, really, for them to storm 4-0 up, and then, it goes to 4-2, and we're all concerned about whether they're going to let it slip altogether. I don't think they ever were, but they could have made it a bit easier towards the end. But you can't complain. You have to give full credit to the players, the coaching staff, manager. You've got to give them full credit, because to come to Leicester and win is not an easy thing to do. So they've got the win tonight. We talk about tonight really and say it was a fantastic performance to score 4 goals away from home. And I think the celebrations in the dressing room summed it up.
Well, certainly. I mean, I thought the first 10 minutes was a bit shaky, but after that, Newcastle just dominated. And it was fantastic. It was an enjoyable game to watch as well. And I can't help but think what it would have been like with that away end absolutely buzzing. I mean, the scenes would have been brilliant. Well, we'll go back to the start, Lee, and Willock came in for Sean Longstaff. And did you think that was the right move and that decision paid off? I mean, obviously, Willock got the goal. Do you think Longstaff was unfortunate to drop out?
Yeah, I think he probably was, because against Arsenal, for me, he put a decent shift in and some decent tackles. But you look at the result, and it was probably the right decision, because realistically, Joe Willock makes this team. When he came off with a little bit of a knock, the whole game changed again. So I think it was the right decision. But I think John Joe Shelby probably stayed in the team because of his senior standing compared to Longstaff. So I thought it was unfortunate, but the managers are paid the big money to make the big decisions, and tonight that's exactly what it did.
Willock got the first goal, and then you talk there about someone with senior status, Paul Dummett, playing for an extension to his deal, scored a second. 5 years late since he netted a Premier League goal. And if my research is right, Adele Hello was UK #1. So that proves how long ago it was since Paul Dummett scored. It was a great header. And then we had Wilson with 2 goals. I mean, first of all, we've said it enough times on the podcast, but Joe Willock, what a loan signing he's been. You've seen enough loan signings come in, and they often don't work out. You can look at Slimani, you can look at Sidia Doumbia. A lot of them don't work out, but this one has worked out. And it just goes again to show why Steve Bruce is so keen to have him back next season.
Absolutely. I mean, it's his goal tally from midfield. I mean, what more do you want from a midfield? Someone full of energy who brings you goals and puts himself about on the pitch. It's everything you ask for from a midfielder. If he'd have been here the full season, then I would say he would probably get double figures for you. He might still end up with double figures this season, the way he's going, to be totally honest. But yeah, he's a fantastic player. But I think he's a good character. He's been brought through the ranks at Arsenal, and that's credit to Arsenal, really. That I think he arrives at Newcastle with 78 senior appearances to his name. That is the way to sort of blood your youngsters, really, to get them in the team, give them as much experience as they can, and that's what happens when they get the chance. And yeah, you hope he's going to be here next season, but there'll be a lot of interest, and I'm sure Arsenal, the way they've been playing this season, they probably would like to see what he can do in pre-season. So yeah, great loan signing for Newcastle.
I mean, for Newcastle dominated in the first half. They did have Martin Dubravka to thank as well for pulling off 3 really good saves in that first half. Again, he's just proven why he's Newcastle's number 1. I mean, he had to wait a little bit to get back into the side after injury, but with performances like today, Lee, he's just... where does he rank for you in terms of the keepers that you've seen during your time reporting on Newcastle?
Yeah, he's right up there, to be totally honest. He's ice cool under pressure, really. That's the best way to describe him. I mean, he made a couple of great saves in the first half. Now, the one just before half time, it's probably the least spectacular save that he made of the night. But when Jamie Vardy went through, and a lot of goalkeepers might have, tried to go down and try and smother the ball, but he just stayed cool and caught the ball, basically patted it down. And had that went in just on the stroke of half time, it would have been a nightmare for Newcastle. 2-1. I wanted them to get past the hour mark with the 2-0 lead still intact. To see them go 3-0 up, you thought it was game over. 4-0, you definitely thought it was game over. But then, it is Newcastle, isn't it? This is what it's like. This is why all the nerves are shredded watching Newcastle all these times.
Most certainly. I mean, and that save that he made, but from Perez later on, I mean, what a save that is from close range. Because if that had gone in, I mean, it was already nervy, but that would have made it 4-3, and the nerves definitely would have been shredded even more with that. What a save that was.
Yeah, it was, again, cool under pressure, and we know what Perez can do from that range. And, he had a couple of efforts when he come on. I think he was desperate to score against his old team for obvious reasons. And, Dubravka stood up to him. And, I mean, had it went to 4-3, then anything could happen. We've seen it before. 4-3 is a dangerous scoreline, even going into stoppage time. So, and the momentum would have all been with Leicester. So that's why Dubravka's back in the team.
The other change was Emil Kraft came in for Kieran Clark. In a centre-back role where he's featured before and he's not really, performed too well. But what did you make of his performance tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it was one where for all the players really had ups and downs in the game. You can go right through the 11 really and look at it that way. But for me, when St. Maximin's effort was saved, as good a save as it was, you would expect someone of his quality to just lift it over the goalkeeper. It is very easy from watching from TV or sitting in the stands, but you wonder what type of night it was going to be when that chance was missed. So yeah, there was a lot of plus points.
No, most certainly. Callum Wilson grabbing a double as well. Now, I've seen a tweet tonight from one of our colleagues over at Booty Newcastle, Matthew Raisbeck, and he's put out a stat that says all Wilson's goals have come in the second half, which is quite a stat. But brilliant to see him back on the goal scoring route tonight, and two good finishes as well.
2 good finishes. I think he might look back. He might look at the next few games and he would have every right to say that he wants to be more selfish. And tonight when he burst through that run to set up St. Maximin, he's probably got every right to have a go himself there, but he was unselfish. Second half, there were 2 excellent finishes again. Done the right thing, kept cool when it hit the post, and he's paid the 20 million back very quickly. So it's up to Newcastle now to put players in around him that are going to provide him with the service that will take him to a 20-goal tally next season.
Maybe a late push for the Euros. We'll see. You mentioned Alan St. Maximin there and the chance he had with Schmeichel, a great save. What I thought tonight, Lee, was quite interesting was it's often been said Newcastle are this kind of one-man team and they rely on St. Maximin. And he didn't have a bad game by any means, but he was quite quiet for his usual standards. And we had other people stepping up and, taking the game to Leicester and performing really well. So I thought that was good to see, and that bodes well going forward, that maybe Newcastle aren't just this one-man team relying on the Frenchman.
Well, yeah, and the thing is now, what can they do in the last three games? I mean, Man City got absolutely nothing to lose in that game. They can go for it a little bit. Man City have got more important games, coming up, and then you've got the two teams that one's already relegated and one's going to be relegated very soon. So, this is a chance for them to pick up, at least 6 points in the last two games. I hope to do it, but it's going to be the test of have they hit the limit. Have they hit the limit of what they can produce? They did this last season. They beat Bournemouth in the last few games, won 4-1 down there. Had a real opportunity to push on, didn't do it, and here we are in a similar situation going the last three games. Hopefully, they can add to the tally.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And I mean, this win all but secures Newcastle's safety unless something disastrously goes wrong. Fulham need to win all their games, and Newcastle needs not to. But I mean, they're safe. And how was Steve Bruce? With that realization, what did he have to say about the fact that Newcastle are pretty much done and dusted for this season?
He, spoke after the game that the forward line was when it's fit, then Newcastle can compete. He, in his press conference, I think, been a long season for everybody, and yeah, I think he was relatively reflective in what he said. But I'll leave it for others to judge his sort of reaction to tonight's game.
A lot of people on social media and in the comments here talking about Matt Ritchie and the journey he's been on this season. He left in January, fallout with Steve Bruce, and he's back in the side recently. And he is showing those leadership qualities that people have always felt he's had. Another decent turnout from him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's since he come back in the team, they've had that spark and that bite. And realistically, he could have left the club in January. He could have went back to Bournemouth. He ended up staying, and he's put in a real shift tonight, and responsible for a couple of goals in terms of setting them up, and hopefully, he can have a good summer and come back fit and firing again for next season, because he's certainly an experienced player in that dressing room now.
No, most certainly. And just finally, while I've got you, just to ask about the statement yesterday from Mike Ashley and the developments there. If you head over to Chronicle Live, you can read all about what Mike Ashley had to say regarding the HMRC investigation, and of course the latest with a takeover with regarding the anti-competition lawsuit that he's launching against the Premier League. What was your verdict on that?
Well, Mike Ashley, comes out fighting basically against the Premier League. It's starting to get a little bit, let's be honest, it's starting to get a bit ugly between Mike Ashley and the Premier League now. We pushed the story out yesterday and, reported it. But, Newcastle have struggled to be a big side in the last 10 years. And, that the only person that stopped that is the powers that be. They've had one European finish. They have, to be fair, they have spent money, but sometimes the manager hasn't, matched with the players. The team we've got let's be honest, the team we've got at the minute, you've got nearly £100 million worth of forward players there. They've been fourth bottom for a lot of time this season. Okay, some of them haven't been fit. I said on the YouTube before the game that for me, regardless of what happens this season, I think they'll be weighing in for the season 10 points light of what they should be. Regardless of the injuries and the COVID, I think that they probably should have 10 more points, because, the couple of Brighton games, the Sheffield United game, the West Brom game, probably another one you could chuck in there. So, yeah, they probably should be beyond the 50-point mark now. But, I'm not going to grumble. A 4-2 win away from home is never a bad thing. And they've done very well. And as I said, You've got to give them a lot of credit tonight for the way they went about the business, and they've got the job done with 3 games to go. So well done.
Yeah, 100%. It's just nice to be talking positively about Newcastle on the pitch, an enjoyable game. And just finally, we spoke a few weeks ago, and you said you were looking for Newcastle to put that complete performance in, and you pointed to the Bournemouth game. Did this performance get close to it? Did it even maybe better it?
It was probably on par with that. I mean, it was against a better side. Let's be honest. Leicester are a lot better than Bournemouth. But in terms of the performance, I was thinking of it, going into the last few minutes, and then obviously the sort of hit the self-destruct button of it. But yeah, I think it was, that was on par with last season at Bournemouth. To get 4 goals away from home doesn't happen very often. Let's be totally honest, and it's great that they've got it, and hopefully they can, as I say, take at least 6 points. It'd be lovely if they can get a win against Sheffield United at home in front of the fans who get the chance to get a ticket and sign off the season in real style. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, fingers crossed that'll happen. Of course, we'll bring you all the latest developments with that ballot next week, and also the build up to the next game against City. Lee, thank you for joining us on the Everything is Black and White podcast. Safe journey back to Tyneside. There we had Lee Ryder down at the King Power. Brilliant game. Thank you guys for watching and listening later on the podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe to whichever platform you join us on, and hopefully this game is the step to a very happy weekend for you Newcastle United supporters.